Welcome to episode 98 of the Routine Advantage podcast. And today we're actually going to talk about continuing the topic from the last episode, and it's all about meal planning. So, we are actually talking about 4 shortcuts that you can use to get dinner on the table quickly because we want this area of life to be something that never has to stress you out again. We want to simplify this process so that you don't have to worry or stress or get overwhelmed the next time somebody asks you, "What's for dinner?"
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renee Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage podcast.
I feel like this is a topic that can be applied to so many different areas because meal planning is one of those things, and meal time in general is one of those things that we can get so overwhelmed. A simple question like, "What is for dinner?" can actually spur on some really strong emotions if you are feeling overwhelmed already. And then it's just one more question, it's one more decision, it is another task at the end of a long, busy, and exhausting day. And now you have to feed your family and you have to figure out what's for dinner. And then you have to make it and then you have to clean up from it. And it can be a lot. So, any area that we can simplify for our meal planning routine is amazing because meals are a huge part of our life. That is how we continue to survive and thrive. And we need to be able to get good and nutritious food in our bodies. And we can only do that by making food and eating it. Because that takes up such a big part of our life, we need to simplify that. And that is something that once we do that, this never has to stress you out again because you have it under control. And with these tips, you can get things even done ahead of time without necessarily prepping. Like if you feel like meal prep or anything like that is just too committed, this is a really good way for you to be able to tweak some of your habits in a way that allows you to feel prepared and you have things done ahead of time without actually taking the time and effort to do quote unquote meal prep. This is like little super simple things that just take intentionality to be able to make these little changes. And then by making these small tweaks and changes, it makes future meal planning and actual getting meals on the table so much faster, so much easier, so much less stressful that it can just totally simplify this routine. And I will say right from the start that it does take some practice. So if you don't get this right away, it is okay. Just keep trying and just keep paying attention to what you're doing, and you will get better and better at this. And it will be very encouraging because you have the tools, you have the information that you need to start making those small tweaks. And as you take these little shortcuts that I have for you today, you're going to have to adjust them for your family and what works for you and your food preferences, your dietary needs, and also just your general taste buds, and also what works for your schedule. So you can tweak these how you need to for your family. And even if you're cooking just for yourself, you can do these. They will just simplify any area of your meal planning routine, especially as we are entering the back to school phase right now. So if you have kids that are either going back to school or you homeschool or whatever your situation is, this is an awesome way to start simplifying your meal planning process because you're going to have a lot of things coming up, whether it is for school or sports or any other extracurricular activities. This is a really good time to start getting a little bit more of a simplified process process for this area of life. So, number one, the first shortcut I have for you to get dinners on the table quickly is to make extra at dinner to put meals in the freezer. Now, what I'm talking about here is this could be cooked or uncooked, but instead of doing a full meal prep where you get all the ingredients and you chop everything and then you sort it into bags and you throw it in the freezer and then you've got, 28 different freezer meals to take out and throw in the slow cooker. That is amazing. And I have done that in the past where you do that and you have this whole stack of meals in your freezer that are ready to go. And that is amazing. I really enjoyed that. However, it is a big commitment to dedicate, 3, 4, 6, 8 hours at a time, depending on what you're doing and what you need to prep and cook and chop and all of that stuff that you're doing to get that prepared. That is a big commitment. And if you don't want to be doing that every week or month, then this is a way that you can do something at a much smaller scale. So, this might look like making chili for dinner. And instead of just making a batch of chili for you to eat that evening, you make extra. And before you even serve your family, you take half of it and you set it aside and you put it into freezer safe containers and you throw it in the freezer. Now, this means that you now have an extra serving to feed your family chili at a different night later in the week or even in the month that you know that you're just not going to have time or energy to get dinner on the table. You have extra chili already prepared. This might be taco meat. If you have ground beef that you are making tacos, you can make double the amount or even triple the amount. Whatever you're doing, make extra. And then before you even feed your family, pull it out, set it aside, and put it into the freezer. And now you've got your ground beef and taco meat already ready to go. And all you need to do is pull it out when you need it and have your toppings, whatever you need, or you can throw it into enchiladas. Whatever you're making, you can put it on nachos or in quesadillas. It's not taking any extra effort because you're already making these things. You're just making more than you normally would and setting some aside. And now you already have freezer meals ready to go. So, some other areas that you can do this is, like I said, chili or taco meat. You can also do this with soups. You can do it with lasagna. You can do it with tater tot hot dish. I'm from Minnesota, so we call it tater tot hot dish. You might know this as tater tot casserole. Like any of these types of dishes, you can do freezer. They're freezer safe. So if you are unsure how to freeze things, you can look at different recipes. If you aren't going off of a recipe and this is just something that you make, try and think of something similar and just Google it and see if somebody has shared how to freeze it well so that it comes out of the freezer where you can bake it at a certain temp, or whether or not it needs to be put in the oven frozen, or if you should thaw it ahead of time, things like that. So then you have a good handle. And I think the easiest way to do this is to just simply have a permanent marker on the top of your fridge or in your cabinet or a drawer. And then just write on the packaging. You can say what it is, you can say the date, and then even just plug on the instructions. So if you are pulling a lasagna out of the freezer and like, don't go by this because I don't know offhand, I'm just throwing something out there, but if you know that you need to put it in the oven frozen at 350 for 40 minutes, just write that on the actual packaging and do it covered for 40 minutes and then uncover and do the last 15 minutes uncovered and let the cheese melt. That is just an example. Like I said, look that up before you do that because that's not actually what a recipe is, but it might be that. I just don't remember. But that is an easy way to have these shortcuts to be able to get some meals in the freezer to get dinner quickly on the table when you're busy. Shortcut number 2 is to make extra protein. So if doing the extra meals seems a little bit daunting, then do the extra protein. So this is not that full meal prep, but this is just making extra. This is like making extra chicken when you're doing grilled chicken for a salad, but then you've got extra chicken in the freezer, already cooked, already seasoned, ready to go, and you can pull it out when you're ready to do like shredded chicken tacos. You can do shredded chicken quesadillas. You can do enchiladas. You can make a chicken salad. All of these different things that you can make for dinners are easy because you already have the chicken cooked. All you have to do is pull it out, let it thaw in the fridge, and you can mix it up into whatever meal you want. That is super quick and easy. So, making extra protein, I think, is one of the easiest things that you can do to make quick dinners, because that's a lot of times the longest part or the most daunting part is cleaning the meat and like making sure it's prepared properly and then getting it on the table. So having it done ahead of time is something that is really easy. Shortcut number 3 is if you use a lot of onions and peppers like fajita style veggies, to slice them up ahead of time and throw them in a freezer bag and just keep them in the freezer so that you have this big bag of frozen veggies already sliced up, that when you are doing, burrito bowls or quesadillas or even soups or enchiladas, like all of these different things, if you are cooking up onions and peppers often, all you have to do is heat up your pan and then just throw some of these frozen peppers and onions into the pan to cook down. Now, you can have a bag and then just break them up in that freezer bag. So, one freezer bag could be multiple different meals, and you just take out of the bag what you need at the time and then just throw the rest back in the freezer. Now, I will say this is not good if you are wanting them to be fresh and crisp. They don't freeze well that way. So you want to make sure that you are pulling them out and cooking them in something so that they actually like get softer with the cooking process, because otherwise they're not going to be crisp like fresh veggies. But if you're often cooking peppers and onions, you only have to do it once. You just do a huge batch at a time and then throw them in the freezer and they're ready to go for you at any point in time. So the shortcut number 4 is to pair similar meal ingredients on consecutive days. So when you are planning out your meals for the week, what you'd want to do is you'd want to look at what you're making in the consecutive days. So not only are you saving money, but you're also saving yourself time and effort. So let's say, for example, on Monday, you're going to do chili Fritos, and a lot of people don't know what chili Fritos are, and I was very new to it when I actually met my husband because their family did chili Fritos quite often, and I had never heard of it. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you have not heard of it, it is so yummy. So basically, you make a batch of chili and then you take like Fritos, like the chips, and you put them down on a plate and then you top it with shredded lettuce and then you pour on your chili and then you do taco toppings on top of that. So you do like your diced tomatoes and onions and cheese and sour cream, anything you'd put on a taco, you put that on top. So it's kind of like walking tacos, if you've ever heard of that, but it's chili and it's with Fritos instead of Doritos. I don't know. But it sounds kind of odd. It is so good, and that's my favorite way to eat chili now if we ever have chili. So if you do chili Fritos on Monday, then what you'd wanna do is you would wanna make extra ground beef, and you could put that half of the taco meat into, or I'm sorry, the extra half of ground beef into the freezer. So it's not necessarily taco meat, but you've got all this ground beef already made, so you could pull it out for chili or tacos or on in some sort of hot dish already, spaghetti, all those things, you already have the ground beef already made. So that is just like you're not doing anything extra. You're just making extra because you're already making it. You're just making extra to save yourself time in the future. And then you're going to chop lettuce and chop extra lettuce for the later in the week. You're going to chop tomatoes, chop extra tomatoes for later in the week. You have salsa, you have sour cream. These types of things, you just have available. And then, so you have your chili Fritos, you've got your meat in the freezer, you've got extra veggies. So then Tuesday, let's say you're going to do a grilled chicken salad. Now you've already got extra lettuce chopped. You already did that process. So you can grill up some chicken and go ahead and make extra chicken because we're getting extra protein in the freezer for future meals. And then maybe you already have some veggies that you have already prepped from your meal planning when you brought home your groceries, and maybe you chopped, cauliflower and broccoli and some carrots and celery, things like that already. So just pull those out and give them a rough chop, throw them on your salads, and you're good to go. And it was super quick and easy. And maybe at this point you even made some sort of sauce, like a cilantro lime ranch sauce, or maybe you just used a normal salad dressing because you wanted something quick. That's totally fine. And then on Wednesday, let's say you're doing enchiladas. Now you can pull out that extra ground beef, or you can pull out the extra chicken you had. You already have your veggies chopped up. You already have your tomatoes, your lettuce. You've still got sour cream and salsa from your chili Fritos on Monday. And now you make extra enchiladas and then freeze half of them, throw them in the freezer. So you've got enchiladas ready to go. You've got chili in the freezer at this point. You've got extra chicken. You've got extra ground beef already made. And now you have enchiladas to serve on Wednesday night. So that's just 3 days where you're making the same meals. You made chili Fritos, you made a grilled chicken salad, and you made enchiladas, but you also now have all of those other ingredients stored in the freezer where you have an additional basically 3 meals, if not more, because you have so many different variations that you can use those ingredients for. But now you have all of those things in your freezer for super quick dinners later on. It just makes things so much easier when you can start plugging these habits in to simplify this meal process. So hopefully you find these inspiring and you can start thinking of meals that your family loves and ways that you can make a little extra and throw them in the freezer so that you have these things prepared and on hand already to help you just take a weight off your shoulders and be able to have this dinner time routine much simpler, and so that it doesn't have to stress you out. And we are coming up on our 1 year anniversary of the podcast, which is super, super exciting. And we do want to do a future Q&A episode. So if you have any questions to clarify any of the routines we talk about, or you just have any questions for me in general, I would love it if you email us. It's in the show notes. So if you go to the show notes, you can get our email. You can also find our speak pipe, which is at speakpipe.com/the routine advantage podcast. But the link is in the show notes. And the speak pipe is basically you can ask the question the same way in an email, or if you want to say it to me so that we have an audio clip of it, then you can go to our speak pipe and basically leave me a voicemail and ask me any question that you want. And so it's super easy. You just go to it, you click the orange button, and you record yourself talking. It's super simple to be able to do that. And then we will do a Q&A episode as a celebration of our 1 year anniversary. And we're really close to 100 episodes as well. So I think that will be really fun. If you have any questions at all, or even just a review or a testimonial on things you've been loving about the show, we would love to hear from you. So please take a few minutes and do that if you feel it in your heart to do that. But before we close out this episode, I want to just do a really quick recap for you of those 4 food shortcuts to get quick dinners on the table with your meal planning routine. Number 1 shortcut is to make extra at dinner time to put in the freezer for future meals. Number 2 shortcut is to make extra protein. And then number 3 is to freeze any veggies, especially like those peppers and onions, or really any veggies that freeze well, you can do this with. And shortcut number 4 is to look at pairing similar meal ingredients on consecutive days when you are planning out your week. I hope you can take these ideas and run with them, and I will catch you on the next episode.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.